Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. It is a time for another tutorial series on Sentinels of the Multiverse. This time we got hero number 2 that came out in Rook City. Last time we did Expatriate. This time, of course, the other hero that got released with Rook City, Mr. FIXER. So let's go ahead and check him out and see what he can do, shall we? So there it is, Mr. FIXER. Again, I will scroll down so you can pause this if you're watching later on YouTube. His information. And there you go. Not much to it. A little bit of backstory there. So, Mr. FIXER, let's check him out and see what he can do. Alright, Mr. FIXER starts with 28 hit points. He has a strike power. Mr. FIXER deals 1 target, 1 melee damage. It's something. On the back side, put an equipment card in a hero trash into play. One player may draw a card or destroy an ongoing card. So pretty good powers if he gets knocked out for Mr. FIXER. And let's check out any variants. Again, he has other variants, but I've not unlocked them in the program. But this one here is Dark Watch, Mr. FIXER. Good looking artwork on that one right there for sure. Bitter Strike, Mr. FIXER deals 1 target, 3 damage. Destroy a hero ongoing or equipment card. So you get to do 3 damage, but then you have to destroy a hero ongoing or equipment card, which can be a problem. Can be a serious problem. So there's his variants there, his base one and his one variant. All right, he's got a boatload of cards in his deck. He's got 17 different cards. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. 2 copies of Alternating Tiger Claw. It's an ongoing style card. First time we've seen that word used. Damage dealt by Mr. FIXER is irreducible. When this card enters play, destroy all other style cards. So Mr. FIXER is all about getting styles out and equipment out that he can use for those styles. So he wants to get the right style and different styles for different things, and then get the right equipment out as well. So Alternating Tiger Claw is all about irreducible damage, can be huge. Next card up is Bloody Knuckles. It's an ongoing card. It is 4 copies in his deck. Increase all damage dealt to Mr. FIXER by 2. Increase all damage dealt by Mr. FIXER by 2. And then at the start of your turn, destroy this card. So if you're going to have a huge turn with Mr. FIXER, this might be a great card to throw in there. Increased damage that he'll take, but also deals, and he can, really help out. Next up, 3 copies of Charge. It's a one-shot. Mr. FIXER deals 1 target, 2 melee damage, so a little bit better than his default. Next, there's 3 copies of that. Next up is the Praying Mantis style. There's 2 copies of this card in Driving Mantis ongoing style card. The first time each turn that Mr. FIXER would be dealt 2 or less damage, you may redirect that damage to a target of your choice. When this card enters play, destroy all other style cards. So you can only have 1 style ever in play at a time. It's all about getting those style cards in your hand and using the right opportunity. 2 copies of that. So we have Dual Crowbars, which is an equipment tool. When Mr. FIXER deals damage, he may deal that damage to 1 other target as well. So if it says 1 target, 2 damage, he can do 2 targets, 2 damage. And he also increases damage dealt by Mr. FIXER by 1. So Dual Crowbars is probably his favorite. For me, it's his favorite cards. He also has the Grease Gun. It's equipment. Non-hero targets cannot deal damage. You may not use powers. You may not draw cards. At the start of your turn, destroy this card. So for 1 turn, he nerfs everyone else that's not our hero target. can let your other heroes get set up and get things ready to go. Kind of if you have a lot of enemies out and you don't want to take a whole bunch of damage. Grease Gun. Can be 2 copies in the deck. There's also 2 copies of Grease Monkey Fist. Whenever Mr. Fixer deals damage, you may choose the type of damage. That normally doesn't come into play that often, but it can. And then increase damage dealt by Mr. Fixer by 1, which is nice. And then when this card enters play, destroy all other style cards. So not a bad card to get into play. You got to get a style into play for sure. Harmony, 2 copies of this. It's an ongoing limited card. When both a tool card and a style card in play, increase damage dealt by Mr. Fixer by 1. So you got to get a tool, get a style, and then put this card in play, and you're going to be doing a lot of extra damage. That's why it doesn't look like he does a lot of damage with his, his crowbars only, or his like attacks, charge here, 1 target, 2 melee damage. Well, he doesn't do a lot of damage until he gets his style cards in play, and then he gets his equipment cards in play, and then he starts really ramping things up by being in harmony. Increasing, when both a dual card and a style card are in play, increase damage dealt by Mr. Fixer by 1. Alright, so now we got the 2 cards, the Hoist Chain. It's a equipment duel. Whenever Mr. Fixer deals damage to a target, reduce all damage dealt by that target by 1 until the start of your next turn. And when this card enters play, return all other tool cards into play. So we can kind of nerf somebody else out there. 2 copies of that card. We have Jack Handle. It's equipment tool. When Mr. Fixer would deal damage to a target, he deals that much damage to all non-hero targets. Alright, so whenever he deals damage to a target, he then deals damage to everyone, which can be great. Great power. There are 2 copies of that. 3 copies of Meditation. Search or trash your deck for a style card and either put it into play or in your hand. Great way of bringing cards back in that you've already used. And then you've replaced with other style cards. And now you're like, oh, I need that other one because now I need irreducible damage again. And then if you search your deck, shuffle it. And there are 3 copies of that. Overdrive, 4 copies. One shot, Mr. Fixer, strikes power. You may use Mr. Fixer's strike power twice this turn. So, that's his strike power. So it's deal 1 target 1 damage. But hopefully by the time you get your overdrive, you'll already have, you'll have harmony going. You'll have your dual crossbars going. And instead of doing 1 target 1 damage, you'll be doing 2 targets 4 or 5 damage, which could be great. And using it twice in a round, you can start doing some serious damage once he gets everything set up. Pipe Wrench is equipment tool. Increase damage dealt by Mr. Fixer by 1. Reduce damage dealt to Mr. Fixer by 1. This is a great one to keep him in the fight as well. This is a really... Pipe Wrench might be... I don't know. I like the crowbars, but a Pipe Wrench is a good alternative because you take less damage, which can really help him. So, Pipe Wrench, there are 2 copies of that. We have the Riveting Crane style. It's an ongoing style. After Mr. Fixer damages a target, all damage dealt to that target is irreducible until the start of your next turn. When this card enters play, destroy all other style cards in play. So that one will be great if the enemy has a nice damage reduction. You can make it not remove that damage reduction by having Riveting Crane. Next up is the Salvage Yard. Salvage Yard. It's a 1-shot, 2 copies of this deck. Move all equipment cards from each hero's trash into their player's hand. If there's a copy of a card Overdrive in your trash, you may put it into play now. in overdrive again is this card here, which will allow him to do two Mr. Fixer strike power twice. So getting salvage yard, getting these overdrives played, and then using salvage yard to play them again and again. Oh, there's 2 copies of that. 4 copies of overdrive. That's great. Tire iron, equipment duel. All damage dealt by Mr. Fixer is projectile damage. After Mr. Fixer damages a target, if that damage has 2 or fewer hit points, you destroy it. And when this card enters play, return all other tool cards. So not as very situational for this one, but I mean, if it's the only tool you got, put it into play. You got to get a tool into play. So if you have a choice of tools, I would recommend the pipe wrench or the crowbars. Those are my favorites. And then last but not least, the toolbox, another equipment. When this card enters play, draw 2 cards. And at the start of your turn, return this card to your hand. So you can really get some tools going through your deck this way, which is super nice. And getting lots of different styles. Because you want to play the different... You don't want to just play a style and keep it out there the whole time. Because the situation on the board varies. If you got a bunch of enemies out there, you want the style that's going to damage a lot of enemies. If you have just one really tough enemy that's doing a lot of damage, you want to kind of nerf that guy. So your styles have to match up with what the situation is, and then so you're going to be putting your styles into play, kind of replacing one another. But you can always go back and get those ones out of your trash again and put them back into play with the meditation. So what do I think about Mr. Fixer? What do I think about Mr. Fixer? He's not one of my favorites. I think he's pretty straightforward. He does a pretty good job. He's got the style cards, which makes him kind of unique and different. And he also has the tools. The problem is it takes him a while to get the right tool and the right style for the right situation. As the board keeps altering, like I said, you might have one round where you have a ton of enemies out there, so you want to get the right style out there to do lots of damage, and you do that. You get the right style in play, and you put it in play, and you do lots of damage to all the enemies, and then all the heroes end up killing all these enemies. So next turn you're like, well, I can do lots of damage to lots of enemies, but that is no longer the case, and now I've got to try and find a different style. So yeah, he's very, I guess, situational, how good he is. In the right situation, his right tools, with the right style, he's awesome. He does a great job. But if that situation isn't there, like if you have a lot of enemies out and you don't have the right style, where, like you might have the driving mantis. So like every time he might be dealt damage 2 or less, he can redirect that damage to a target of his choice. Well, if he's never getting hit, then this style doesn't really help, so that's what I'm saying. It's all of his styles and equipment are very situational, and when those situations come up, he's great. He can do a little bit of damage. I mean, his base power, to me, it's got to be one of the worst base powers in the game, and they really nerfed his base power because of all the boosts that they give him in his deck. Like, every one of his style cards, a lot of his style cards give him an extra bonus, and then the harmony gives him an extra bonus, and so like if you don't have all those cards in play, he's just not as good. So I find him to be a little challenging to get set up and get the right situations to happen. He's, like I said, he's not my favorite hero. I keep trying to get him to work and do things, but it just takes him too long to get to the point where other heroes are doing lots of damage. When you look at him and Expatriate that came in this expansion pack, Rook City, I think Expatriate is far and away a better, more rounded character than this character is. It just, with the styles being so situational, and then, if the styles weren't If you could have multiple styles out at the same time, that would make things different, but you can't. You can only have one out at a time, which really makes this style situational. Like, okay, I want to take less damage, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 different styles cards. So he has the Grease Monkey, which increases his damage, and he gets to choose his type of damage. Again, choosing your own type of damage is really, again, very situational. This one here is hitting a target that has making him, anyone else that attacks him makes their damage irreducible. Well, that only is great if the enemy has some kind of damage reduction. If they don't have any damage reduction, then this style's kind of waste. So you can see what I'm talking about. He's got really cool powers and they do really cool things, but they're all very situational. Now, if this comes into play, he could be the hero of the group because he can be like, okay, I'll switch this style. I'll punch him. Now you all punch him and you'll do full damage now. And everyone will be like, Mr. Fixer, you're the best thing ever. So when the situations arise, he does a great job. He can make or break the group based upon the situations that come in and his ability to have the right cards at the right time. So very, very challenging to get the right moments, but when he can be a really cool character. Try him out, see if you can get him to work better than I can, and maybe you'll find out you like him more than other characters. But for me, he is very situational. I'll bring him in a group and hope and pray that he'll get to do some stuff. And by the time he's doing things, the other characters have already earned their keep. So, I would call this character kind of a weaker because it takes him so long. He's got to get all those things built up. His base power is terrible. So... I mean, literally, like, if you get, a style into play, your base power is still only doing 1 target, 2 damage, which is, Rod does 1 target, 2 damage right off the bat. So, and he doesn't need to put any cards into play. So, it takes Mr. Fixer a while to get set up, and he can be challenging to situations. So, besides that, not a bad character. So yeah, give him a try. He's great at moments, and the moments that he does get set up, he does a great job of doing some cool damage. And he's pretty tough in Rumble. He's got a few ways to reduce damage coming in. So yeah, get him. If you want a tough and Rumble character to stand there toe to toe and punch your enemies as hard as you can, Mr. Fixer might be the hero for you. So thanks everyone for watching. That is a look at Rook City. Next up is Infernal Relics with 2 more heroes. Thanks everyone for watching our tutorial series. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And we'll see you next time for the heroes out of the Infernal Relics cycle, which is the second expansion for the base enhanced edition of Sentinels of the Multiverse. Until then, my friends, take care of yourselves, and don't you forget, I'll see you all down the line. Take care, everybody. And